everyone. Today Tatiana and Serge.
Hi everyone.
And today we are going to tell you about the diagrams in Eclipse RCP. But first of all, just who are we? We are from the dbeaver team. dbeaver is the universal database management tool. It's a desktop application that can work with almost any databases. dbeaver is based on Eclipse RCP platform, and it develops in two main directions. One of them is open source, and another one is commercial product. dbeaver is quite popular. These days we have more than 6 million users around the world, and this number is continuing to grow. But maybe one of the most important things why we are so popular is that we do a lot to make data representation better and easy to understand. We show data in different ways, and of course as a diagrams or charts or something like this. And today we will tell you about some problems related to graphical edit framework that we use in dbeaver as well. We show you what problems you can met with this and how did we solve this in our project. So,
yeah, I'll talk from that moment. Okay, we will talk about, mostly we'll talk about graphical edit framework in Eclipse or JAV. What is JAV actually? Well, it's Eclipse library. It's a base framework for a lot of diagram rendering tools based on Eclipse platform, including dbeaver, of course. It consists of three main parts. First part is Draw2D. It's renders raster graphics, simple figures, connections between them, canvas, and other primitives. Then comes JAV itself, which is MVC or Model View Controller framework, which can be used in more sophisticated way in applications which show different diagrams, charts, or anything like that. And the third part is Zest, which provides additional UI components, additional layouts, and other stuff. It's actually not part of core of JAV, but also important part of the entire framework. In dbeaver, we use JAV to render entity relational diagrams of databases, to visualize execution plans, to show Visual Query Builder, and several other important UI parts of our application. So it's a really, really important part of dbeaver. So this is why we care about JAV.
Yes, and before we will start to tell about the problems, let's take a look at into the history. Actually, JAV library is quite old. It's so old that you can think that it was with us forever. The first release of JAV 2.0 was in 2002. It's almost 20 years ago. And already in 2003, JAV 2 was included in Eclipse. That days, JAV developed quite actively, and in JAV and in 2004, JAV 3 was released. That it's almost that JAV that we all of us knows.
Yeah, JAV 3.0, it's actually a synonym to word graphical edit framework in Eclipse. At least it was for a decade. It was developed from 2004 to 2015, and about 10 releases of JAV was published during this time. JAV 3.10 was the last version of JAV3, and then it became more or less obvious that it's like an old library and it has to be redesigned, adapted to new technologies, to new Eclipse platform, because Eclipse 4 was released at that time, and well, it replaced legacy APIs of Eclipse 3. But in the same time, another successor of JAV3, JAV5 appeared, and the main idea was to switch from original Eclipse UI framework, SWT, to JAVAFX. At that time, JAVAFX was primary Java framework for UI rendering, which replaced Swing, and it was quite straightforward solution to use JAVAFX for diagram renderings. But unfortunately, something happened after that. In 2018, Java 11 was released, and it wasn't a big surprise because we knew it before the actual release, but it was a fact that JAVAFX was no longer part of JDK. It wasn't included in standard Java distribution, so it led to a set of problems for Java developers and users of Java applications. JAV3 still remains part of Eclipse RCP platform. JAV5 never was a part of Eclipse RCP, but it was included in Eclipse or EclipseFX product, which mainly was based on JAVAFX technologies.
Yeah. Okay, so many numbers, so many years, and where are we now?
Yeah, currently we have two different versions of JAV, or in fact, these two versions are two different products. They have very little things in common. JAV3, it's our good old JAV. It is included as a part of Eclipse RCP platform, and there are a lot of application which relies on JAV3 API. It's a relatively small library, easy to use, and it's very well documented. There are a lot of samples and open source applications which use it in different ways. But it is legacy. It was renamed to JAV Legacy several years ago, and it was frozen. It means that anybody cannot submit a bug report, provide some patch or improvement or feature to JAV3. It's literally died several years ago. At the same time, we have JAV5, which relies on more modern technologies. It uses new Eclipse 4 APIs. It has a lot of new features. It has much more flexible API and components. But and actually, it's a successor of JAV3. It was supposed to replace JAV3 completely. That's why JAV3 was frozen at some moment. The only major disadvantage of JAV5 is that it's tightly coupled to JAVAFX. Yeah.
But okay, what is wrong with JAVAFX? Because maybe it's not so bad. It's like in modern technologies. Unfortunately, no. As Serge said just a couple minutes ago, JAVAFX was excluded from JDK, and it made the list of different problems. First of all, this moment, JAVAFX has an open source version called openJFX, and you can find the source code of this project on GitHub. But this code is mostly for the recent JDK version. So it's really, really hard to find proper JFX, openJFX version for your JDK. I mean, version that you can download and reuse in your product. And like another side of this problem that you we lose the possibility to deliver products without JDK at all. For example, for us, as for dbeaver developers, it's a big problem because we have a few dbeaver distribution without JDK, and it was one of the big requests from the community to have such kind of dbeaver. And but if we deliver it without JDK, it means that end user has to solve the previous problem. End user has to find the right JDK version and proper JavaFX version. Sometimes it's very hard. Another problem is that JavaFX is a heavy library. It's big, it has a lot of features, but if your product is quite small and you are trying to keep it quite small, like we do this with the Beaver community, our open source project, it can be like a significant increasing for the product size. Not always it's a good idea. So the last but not least aspect is the nature of JavaFX. I mean, open source version of JavaFX. This product is developed by one commercial company, and this is not really bad because why not? But unfortunately, it's not like a real open source project because you can find the source code on GitHub, but you cannot ask for support for open source version. You cannot contribute. You cannot send a feature request or bug. This product doesn't have like a real open source community, and it can be a problem if you want to include this dependency to your product. So it looks like JavaFX is not a good option.
At least for open source products, as our product. Although it may be a great idea for commercial products. However, it looks like we're at the crossroads. We cannot use JAV5 because of JavaFX dependency. And it looks like we cannot keep using JAV3 because it's outdated and it doesn't support many new Eclipse features, for example, optimization. So it may look ugly on big monitors, on dark teams, etc. So these are real problems. But we need to, we still need to keep delivering our new versions of our products to our customers and to the community. So we have to do something with this problem. And we see two ways to solve the problem. First way or first idea would be to adapt JAV5 MVC layer to SWT, original Eclipse UI library. Currently, it relies on JavaFX, and we could switch it to SWT. It looks like a good idea because JAV5 is a modern library. It uses new Eclipse APIs. It has a lot of features out of the box and generates a great library. Main disadvantage of this way, on the left side of the slide, is that it's not really easy to do because JAV5 is a big library, has a huge code base, and it was developed by many companies. And it's very big job to adapt it back to SWT. But it's doable. Although small companies like ours can do this by themselves, we need some collaboration with other companies, with original authors of JAV5. Well, it was the first option. The second option is try to resurrect JAV3. It was dead for like many years, but we could try to animate it a bit. It's doable because it's a relatively small library, not a huge code base. It's well documented and has a lot of examples, and a lot of software uses it already. So it's relatively easy to fix. And also, it provides backward compatibility with existing solutions, so it makes a great sense for a lot of people around the world. Main disadvantage of this option is, again, the same as advantage, as backward compatibility. It means that we can't change JAV3 API significantly. We should remain it as is as long as possible, because it's, again, main advantage. So we're limited in our ideas of JAV3 redesign.
Okay, and what will we do?
Yeah, being a small company, we thought not a long time and decided to try the second way. We tried to adopt and adapt JAV legacy library and try to fix it. What we did it in several simple steps, which are on this slide. First of all, we forked JAV legacy repository to our Debeaver repository. We named it JAV3. Then
It's original.
Yeah. Okay, so then we renamed all Eclipse plugins and packages from original names to avoid naming conflicts, because, well, we build our products with main Eclipse repository, I mean P2 repository, and we need to add new version of JAV. So to avoid name conflicts, we renamed everything from JAV to JAV3 and from draw2D to draw2DL. So it will allow us to use old JAV legacy and new JAV at the same time, if you would like, for some reason. Then we fixed all build scripts to adapt the old JAV legacy repository to new Eclipse and to Theia 2, because, well, these legacy build scripts are not working anymore. Then we modified P2 repository build, because we needed to create a new P2 repository with new JAV, which we call JAV3. At that moment, we will be able to download new version of JAV and include it in your or our product, as we did with Debeaver. Then finally, we changed our own code base, I mean Debeaver code base, and replaced all mentioned of JAV and draw2D with new names. And that's it. Everything worked like a charm. Regression tests passed, and we got a new forked version of JAV in our product.
Actually, so many words on this slide, but it's really easy. You can do this by yourself if you want. Or you can use our version of JAV. But of course, our goal was not just take JAV legacy and change something to import it to our product. It's not that we wanted to achieve. We had some questions, some issues that we would like to close. And we did it. We fixed some problems that existed in JAV legacy. First of all, we added synchronization support. That is really important for people, especially who like a dark theme in Eclipse and in any actually applications, because in JAV3 it looks not very well. Another thing that we add was a possibility to customize hard-coded colors and icons. If you develop your own tool, your own application, it can be really important to replace existing icons to yours, especially if we're talking about JAV legacy that was released 10 years or something like this ago, and the icons are not really modern. The next thing is a possibility to add custom actions in the palette drawer. And the last but not least, the thing that can be not so visible for the end users, but really helpful and useful for the developers. We updated API to use modern Java features like generics, Lambda, streams, and other. So we are ready to show you some results. From the right side, it's a previous view of diagrams with Jeff legacy, and I'm sorry, from the left side is the previous one, and from the right side is the new one that with our fixes. For us, it looks much better.
Yeah, and of course, our fork of J3 is open source. It's released under Eclipse license, and you can start using it immediately. Just add our repository to your Taika build script. It works like a charm, as I said, but we'd actually prefer to modify the original Jeff3 or Jeff legacy code base to let other users to use our fixes or improvements and or to see all changes in this legacy repository. Because, as I said, there are a lot of software around the world which still rely on Jeff3. If Eclipse community is interested in legacy Jeff library contributions and maintenance, then we would be happy to maintain it. However, the perfect solution would be to adopt Jeff5 to SWT, as I described on the previous slide, because actually Jeff3 is outdated. It's old library and it doesn't support a lot of features which have been already implemented in Jeff5. We would be happy to participate in Jeff5 migration to SWT. Actually, Jeff command, geometry, graph, and layout models do not depend on JAVAFX, so they can remain as is. What we need is to create another implementation of Jeff5 MVC model, MVC.fx, or create a new model, MVC.SWT. So it's an ambitious goal, but we think that it's possible, and actually it's really, the world really needs this.
So. Yeah, let's do this together. So, in the end of our talk today, we would like to share some useful links. First of all, it's some links to Jeff, different types of Jeff library. If you're interested in them, please review. Also, please follow us in Twitter or on GitHub if you want. If you want to try our products, I'm in dbeaver, you can find them by the links as well. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us by email. So I think that's it for our talk today. And now we are ready and open for your questions.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
There is a question answer session, and we have the first two questions. First one, did we propose to the Jeff committers to do this work directly inside the official Eclipse Jeff3 branch? We didn't yet. We actually plan to do this right after the conference, because initially we wanted to make some conversation with the community, with different people who are interested in that, because maybe there are some other ideas. We don't want to start do things which are, maybe we don't see something behind this new Jeff5 story. Maybe somebody will correct us. So yeah, we plan to do this. I mean, to start to communicate with Eclipse community after this conference, because it's the first time we're saying these things in public. Another question is,
do Jeff project reject an offer from you to take over Jeff3 maintenance?
Again, we didn't talk about that with Jeff committee or with Eclipse committee, so hopefully they won't reject. Well, we're ready to be committers, because I think dbeaver is one of the most popular applications made on Eclipse platform. So yeah. Okay.
So the next question, would GLCP be an alternative as a modern editor framework running the editor in the embedded web browser of Eclipse?
Yeah, this is also an option. One of the things we're thinking about. I mean, move all complex graphical rendering to the browser. Well, we actually have a web version of dbeaver. It's called Cloud Beaver, and we already use some diagram renderings there. But honestly, we don't think that it may replace desktop versions completely because it's still a web browser. It has its limitations. It's not that convenient as native UI. So we still think that Jeff makes sense. It should live longer. So yeah.
Okay, the next question is also was highlighted in the talk, but we can repeat. Did we consider openJAVAFX, and why we didn't include it and didn't use JAV5 as Java openJAVAFX?
Yeah, well, yeah, we can consider it. Actually, it was our idea to try to migrate to JAVAFX.
It was our first idea.
Yeah, it was our first idea because we were had strong plans to migrate to JAV5. We actually tried and we failed. It's not working. It's not work like this. We, you even can. We currently deliver dbeaver with Java JDK 11. We can't download JAVAFX for JDK 11 from official website or from anywhere. You can do this if you're a commercial user of JAVAFX. If you will buy a subscription, quite expensive, by the way. But we are an open source product. We cannot rely on a commercial product. So yeah, it's one of the problems. Also, as Tatiana said before, it's quite heavy. It's almost as heavy as dbeaver itself. I mean JAVAFX or openJAVAFX. Yeah, so actually, even Eclipse itself is not delivered, is not distributed on Eclipse website. Mostly, as I think, because of these problems with JAVAFX. It's hard to install it to the end user machine. Currently, we don't have any issues with delivering dbeaver or Eclipse to end users, but with JAVAFX, it becomes a real problem.
Yes, and one addition about JRE. I said about this that we deliver different options of different distribution of dbeaver, and some of them without JRE, because it's important for people to use their own Java, not like embedded to the product. So it's also like a blocker for us. So the next questions. What are your limitations of a web-based editor? There are plenty of talks at EclipseCon.
Yeah, we will. It's one of the things which we also think about all the time is ability to move to web-based solutions. I can't say exactly what's wrong with web-based solutions. Of course, it will require us to almost completely rewrite everything we have, which is based on JAV3. But it's not a big problem if web-based solutions will work good enough. I mean, because we're ready to do this. We would happily migrate to JAV5 if there won't be any other issues like JAVAFX dependency. So it's possible, and maybe it's even better than classic desktop solutions. So yeah.
So it looks like we don't have questions anymore. Thank you, guys. And we're almost out of time. Thank you for coming. Once again, thank you for your questions. If you have any questions, just send them to support@dbeaver.com. And that's it for today.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Goodbye. Bye, guys.